सरस्वती गोस्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णववृंद की जय, नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद से अद्वैत गदाधर शिवास आदि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गौ गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरिवर्धन की जय, वृंदावन धाम की जय, नवद्वीप धाम की जय, स्वामी तो भक्तवृंद की जय, गंगा माई की जय, जमुना माई की जय, तुलसी देवी की जय, भक्ति देवी की जय, स्वामी तो भक्तवृंद की जय। All glories to the assembled Lord. All glories to the Ultimate. Thank you very much.
Nadia Gojumani Tananda Mahajan Nadia Gojumani Tananda Mahajan Hatya Chinam Hate Jibera Karan Hatya Chinam Hate Jibera Karan Shradhavan Jana Hai Shradhavan Jana Hai Shradhavan Jana Hai Shradhavan Jana Hai Prabhu Aagai Bhai Magiye Bhikha Prabhu Aagai Bhai Magiye Bhikha Bolo Krishna Bhajo Krishna Koro Krishna Shika Bolo Krishna Bhajo Krishna Koro Krishna Shika Aparara Shunna Hoy Loho Krishna Naam Aparara Shunna Hoy Loho Krishna Naam Krishna Mato Krishna Pito Krishna Dana Pran Krishna Mato Krishna Pito Krishna Dana Pran Krishna Samsara Goro Charyana Cham Krishna Samsara Goro Charyana Cham Divedoya Krishna Nam Sarva Dharmasha Divedoya Krishna Nam Sarva Dharmasha Shradhavan Jana Hai Shradhavan Jana Hai Shradhavan Jana Hai Shradhavan Jana Hai Nadia Gojumani Tananda Mahajan Nadia Gojumani Tananda Mahajan Hatya Chinam Hate Jibera Karan Hatya Chinam Hate Jibera Karan
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada. All glories to our beloved speaker for today, His Grace SALIKA Prabhu. Devotees, we thank you for being here. Today is 23rd day of April 2026, and it is Thursday. Of course, SALIKA Prabhu needs no introduction. I think we have 1, 2, 3, 4 verses to cover today, 16 through 19. So SALIKA Prabhu, if you're ready, we may put the verse on the screen and you may start speaking. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskritam Naraichavam Naruttamam Devi Saraswati Vyasam Tatu Jaya Udirai Nasta Apraisu Abhadresu Nityam Bhagavatam Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloki Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very midst of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto this personality of Godhead Narayan, unto Narayan Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author of the Srimad Bhagavatam. By regular attendance in classes on Srimad Bhagavatam, and by rendering service unto the pure devotees of the Lord, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead is established as an irrevocable fact. You're putting the screen on this, verses on the screen. I should read from here. Okay, 18:16. Ponagadam swa adaya brahmayantam abhiksana sa abhyadavadare krudaha samramba dashadam. Translation. By personality of God, the personality of God now exhibited his anger and rushed to meet the demon who bit his lip in rage. Took up his mace again and began to repeatedly brandish it about. Tatascha gadayarati Dakshinasyam Bruvi I Prabhu Ajagne Satuta Am Saumya Gadaya Kovidohanat. Then with his mace, the Lord struck the enemy on the right of his brow. But since the demon was expert in fighting, O gentle Vidura, he protected himself by a maneuver of his own mace. Text number 18. Evam gadabhyam gurvidiyaham aryaksho hari evasha jiksaya susam rabda of anyonyam abijagnatu. In this way, the demon, Hiranyaksha, and the Lord, the personality of God, struck each other with their huge mace, each enraged and seeking his own victory. Prabhupada commented in the purport, Hiranyaksha is another name of, Aryaksha is another name for Hiranyaksha, the demon. Text number 19. Tayo sprido stigma gadatangaya shata sravagriana vibridya amadyogo veshe tramargam charato jigsaya aha Vyavad Ilyam Iva Susmino Meridaham. Word for word translation. Tayo, them. Spridoho, the two combatants. Tigma, pointed. Gadaha, by the maces. Ahataha, injured. Angyayo, their bodies. Shatas, Asrava, blood coming out from the injuries. Grirana, smell. Vivirdia, increased. Manival, anger. Vishitra, of various kinds. Margahan, maneuvers. Sharata, performing. Jigsayaha, with a desire to win. Vyabahat, it looked like. Ilayam, for the sake of a cow or the earth. Ivaha, like. Susminaha, of the two bulls. Mridaha, an encounter. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace. Srila Bhai Charanaravinda. Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami. Patita Pavan Jagat Guru, Savior of the whole world, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. There was keen rivalry between the two combatants. Both had sustained injuries on their bodies from the blows of each other's pointed maces. And each grew more and more enraged at the smell of blood on his person. In their eagerness to win, they performed maneuvers of various kinds, and their contest looked like an encounter between two forceful bulls for the sake of a cow. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Bhai Charanaravinda, Founder Acharya Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami, Prabhupada Ki Jai. Here the Earth planet is called Ila. The Earth was formerly known as Ilavrata Varsha. And when Maharaj Parikshit ruled the Earth, it was called Bharata Varsha. Actually, Bharata Varsha is the name for the entire planet. But gradually, Bharata Varsha has come to mean India, as India has recently been divided into Pakistan and Hindustan. Similarly, the earth was formerly called Ilavrata Varsha, but gradually, as the time passed, it was divided by national boundaries. Om Agyanam Timirandasya Ganya Gyanam Shalakaya Shaksho Umilitam Jainatasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manubhistam Stapitam Jaina Bhutale Swayarupam Kadamayam Dadati Swam Pada Antikam Bandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Pada Kamalam Sri Gurum Vaishnavam Saha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahaganam Ragunatam Vitam Tam Saajivam Sadvitam Saivadutam Parijanam Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishaka Vitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kakanta Shri Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gourange Radhe Vindavaneshwari Brishabhanu Shute Devi Prana Mamin Ari Priye Mukang Karoti Bachalam Pangam Lagayate Girim Yat Kripatam Bande Shri Guru Dinatarinam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pestaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Sarasvati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pasatyadi Satarine Namahom Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Tirtha Swami Iti Namine Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupadaya Asitatmane Sri Gaura Karuna Shanti Bhakti Tite Namine Vanchakarpa Taru Vyascha Kripa Sundubhya Sevaschaha Patitan Pavashnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Srinivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. There was keen rivalry between the two combatants. Both had sustained injuries on their bodies from the blows of each other's pointed maces, and each grew more and more enraged at the smell of blood on his person. In their eagerness to win, they performed maneuvers of various kinds, and their contest looked like an encounter between two forceful bulls for the sake of a cow. Hare Krishna. So we welcome all of the devotees to today's Srimad Bhagavatam. Today is the 23rd day of the month of April, month of Chaitra, the year 2026. And we're privileged by the grace of the Lord, the causeless mercy of the Vaishnavas to be before you to speak and learn from Srimad Bhagavatam. So before endeavoring to speak, on behalf of Srila Vyasadeva, the author, the compiler of the Srimad Bhagavatam, we seek the blessings of all of the Vaishnava Acharyas, predecessors, and the present Acharyas and all Vaishnavas, those who are gathered on this platform and others watching from other channels, that by this endeavor, we can purify our consciousness and render a pleasing service to the devotee for the pleasure of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So today, we're discussing from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, chapter 18. Specifically, we are reading from text number 16 to 19. These collected verses, 4 verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam, is describing the continuation of our reading from the Leela of the Lord, describing the intense battle between the Lord in his form as Varahadev, the Boa incarnation, and the demon Hiranyaksha. And Srila Prabhupada, because these verses are narratives in nature, Prabhupada did not give purport to the first 3 verses, and he gave his very brief purport in the 4th one, highlighting timeless lesson, which bordered or around divine protection of the Lord. And whenever there is the divine protection of the Lord, it translates to the futility of the pride of the demoniac. Whenever the Lord's protection is manifested, the pride and futility of the demon is exposed. And it manifests the inevitability of God's victory in all circumstances. So, by drawing from these 4 verses, we'll try to draw practical lessons, which, in the context of this discussion, borders around humility, dharma, and the resilience of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the text number 16 to 17 of this verse, Prabhupada used a very descriptive sentence describing the battle to be compared to the fight between 2 great elephants fighting, which symbolizes an immense strength and destructive force. And in the text number 18, the clashes of the instrument of the Lord and the demon in Ayaksha, their mace instrument is described as thunderous. And by the eating of the 2 instruments, as described, it creates a thunderous shaking. Excuse me, both the earth and the heaven, signifying the strength and power behind these 2 combatants. And Prabhupada analyzes in the last text we're discussing today how the smell of blood can intense rage. In the Christian tradition, when he talked about the blood, it signifies something different. And even in a material sense of interactions with the material energy, when there is a spill of blood, when the blood shows out from a scuffle or an argument, we can imagine the kind of rage that is exhibited. So something unique is being described here, the rage and in the text is explained that the 2 combatants, smelling their own blood, became enraged. And the battle that ensued following that sight of the blood is likened to the bulls fighting for the supremacy over a cow's body. These are powerful analogies. But when we look at this story of Lord Varahadev and the demon in Ayaksha, of course, for a devotee, we can understand from the background where this story is coming from. But significantly, in these 4 texts that we're describing, Srila Prabhupada carefully pointed to the pride of the demon in Ayaksha. In material balance, there's a statement that pride precedes fall. So the demon in Ayaksha, out of his anger and pride, exhibited anger. But there are 2 types of anger that is described in this text that we're reading, because it is shown that the Lord himself became very enraged. The Lord became very angry. So talking about the word anger, this word can be looked at from different perspectives. Because when we look at the 6 enemies of the living entity, according to Srimad Bhagavad Gita, anger is described as one of them. But here the Lord is exhibiting anger. So does this indicate that the Lord has material qualities? No. Because the word of usage of the word anger pointed us to the fact that in absolute nature, nothing is material except the way it is used. Because everything is emanating from the Lord, so nothing can be material. So anger in this context is described in 2 ways. The anger of Hiranyaksha, the demon, which is prompted by his pride, and the anger of the Lord for the protection of his devotees. How do we distinguish between the use of these 2 angers? Because in our day-to-day life, we see that sometimes we see someone who is very elevated. According to our calculation and standard of estimation, he becomes angry, and we say, how can this person become angry? Anger is defined based on the motive behind the anger. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the Chaitanya Charitamrita Leela was very angry with Jagai and Madai. So the Lord's exhibition of anger here wasn't for the Lord's benefit. It wasn't even for himself. Although the Lord has no limitation, he has no conditioning. But even the Lord will not exhibit anger. We see this in the story of Bhrigu Muni and Lord Vishnu. When the Lord was kicked on his chest in the natural circumstances, the Lord ought to be angry. But the Lord pacified Bhrigu Muni, begging for his forgiveness for his hard heart, which is like that of a stone. It must have injured the leg of a Brahmana like Bhrigu. So even the Lord does not exhibit anger for himself when it comes to the protection of his devotees. And in this case, Mother Bhumi, the earth, Bhumi Devi, is in danger. And because she is a devotee of the Lord, to protect and save his devotee, the Lord exhibited his anger. So this is the dichotomy between anger based on material sense gratification and anger that is used in the service of the Lord or engaged by the Lord himself for the pleasure of his devotees. The demons pride on their material strength. But the narration of the story we are hearing shows how, no matter how strong or great a demon is, it cannot overcome the divine will. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, Mahabharata, and the Vedic Puranas, there are so many stories. Just like Lord Varahadev here is fighting ferociously with Hiranyaksha, we can remember the story of the fighting of mace, using mace as a tool by Bhima and Duryodhana. These are 2 powerful warriors also. And we can see a similarity here, just like Hiranyaksha here is depending on his brute force, his power, his strength. Duryodhana also was led by this kind of pride and anger, arrogance. And it led to his defeat. But big man was victory, not merely by his physical strength, but because he was aligning with something unique. Because in the material world, there exist only two things, dharma and adharma. So whenever there is dharma, there is victory. When there is adharma, there is defeat. In the fight between Arjun and Karna, the same scenario is exhibited. So when we're looking at this fight of the Lord in his form as Varahadev and in Rayaksha, it drags us to remember the powerful lessons of humility. Power means humility. Real power, real strength means that one becomes humble. And great devotee like Yudhishthira showed that the power of that lies in humility, in surrendering to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And to further buttress these points, I will use a training kit, which sometimes we use in training. The 3 E's of life. Letter E standing for elephant. There is an example of an elephant here. And when I use the 3-letter training kits, tools that I use sometimes in seminars, and will explain that the 3 E stands for experience, experiment, and expectations. So in the story that we are reading, we see the drawing of experience without seeing the end of this battle in this text. Based on experience, we can see clearly where the battle is going. Just like Sanjaya told at the end of the Bhagavad Gita, wherever there is the Lord and his pure devotee, super extraordinary power, opulence, and all the good fortune will be manifested. So when we look at the experiences can be divided into 3 natures. There are experiences. The first level of experiences is Guru Sadhu Sastra. That is one level of experience. An intelligent person can draw from this experience what has happened in the scripture, what has happened in this in the life of sadhus, and what we see happening in the life of a guru. And if one draws from that the first level of experience, one can be able to experiment in the right way, and then can predict the expectations. The second level of kind of experience that is helpful in the course of life's journey is those experiences that are informed by our life experience. The first level of experience are those that is related to Guru Sadhu Sastra. But second level of experience are experiences that in the course of our life we have seen that someone puts his hand into fire and it gets burnt. So based on this experience, we know that we cannot experiment with putting raw hand into fire. It will burn. And the third level of experience are those experiences that somebody else has experienced, and it tells us, oh, I did this and this and that, and based on that, this is what my situation was. So as devotees, we should keep this as a tool to always remember that our experiment or whatever we are doing must be guided by experience And we can draw from these three levels of experience, either Guru, Sadhu, Sastra, our life physical experience, experience that is shared by others. Because if we don't put into consideration these experiences, our experiment is doomed to a destructive future. In every activities of living, everyone is expecting something. So when we are experimenting on something, why do we call it experiment? Because in this life, we all understand there's practically nothing that we do that we can determine the end result. The most simplest thing is that a person has cooked food and he's put that food in his front. He's very hungry and he wants to eat. And based on practical experience, we would think that when somebody is eating, he will get satisfied. But that eating never necessarily does not determine satisfaction of hunger. Because we have seen that just by putting one lump of food in his mouth, something else can manifest as a result, and the person will find himself in a situation. So therefore, our experimental life activities must be guided by experience. Because if our activity or our experiment is not guided by experience, our expectations will meet with a failure. And when we talk about expectations, a devotee of the Lord, he knows that his expectation is what he expects in the future. Those who are non-devotees, they go to so many lengths to go to astrologers. They go to so many kinds of things trying to find what will happen to them. A devotee does not need this because based on his use of the experience and what is experimenting, he can determine his expectations. So when we are practicing devotion and service, one who is actually a devotee, who is in practice, can tell where he is going. If after practicing Krishna consciousness 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, and further, we cannot determine where we go after this body, then it means we have not joined Krishna consciousness. Because from the practical experience that we have gathered, look at the story of Prahlad and Nrsimha Dev in Nrsimha Purana in relation to Hiranyakasipu. We have seen a consistent pattern that whenever there is the pride and arrogance and material strength, no matter where the source is coming from, it naturally always leads to destruction. So in the fight between Lord Boha or Lord Varadev and Hiranyaksha, we can see the end even before we get to the end of the narration. Why? Because when we look at the experience of the past, there's never a time, there will never be a time, there is not a time that demoniac force will overcome that of a divine force. When we study the story of Gajendra Moksha in the Bhagavad Purana, in the Srimad Bhagavatam in the 8th canto, the Gajendra elephant was struggling like anything with the reptile. He was not saved by his strength. So when the Lord is performing this Leela of strength, when we look at this text, they look so simple, straightforwardly. But the underlying lessons is that strength, no matter how big it is, Hiranyaksha was so powerful. You can imagine for one to combat with the Supreme Lord and inflict wounds on the body of the Lord. Because this is the Leela of the Lord, because the Lord wants to exhibit these qualities. But the underlying lesson for a Bhakta is that no matter how powerful his strength is, if it is not backed by humility, it will naturally be based on pride. And pride naturally binds the living entity, and humility opens the divine grace. When we put strength in front of dharma or righteousness, strength becomes useless. Strength, no matter how powerful it is, it leads only to destruction, nothing else. And this battle we're reading the Leela is giving us a reconfirmation of what has been said in the past, because when there is a divine protection, which the Lord always gives to the righteous, one's attempt can never be met with failure. The anger and ego of Hiranyaksha and his uncontrolled anger will lead to his defeat as we go ahead in the narration. So these 4 verses gives enormous lessons that can serve as a boat for crossing the ocean of material samsara. And in the analogy given in the pulpit by Srila Prabhupada and in the text, that just as 2 great elephants clashed together on the battlefield, so did the Lord and the demon engage in combat, describing the fierceness of the battle. And when we look at the narrations of these texts, it brings us to the understanding the super excellent nature of the life of a devotee. The Lord is always present to protect his devotee, just like the Lord is protecting the Mother Bhumi here. And Srila Prabhupada, in the purport, draw attention to important lessons about the Earth planet. The material planet, or the particular planet we're in, or this Earth, this planet called Bharatvarsha, was in the past called Ilavrat. And Prabhupada is drawing attention to how actually the greatest exhibition of demoniac forces is this land grabbing. And the demons are consistently always doing this. When you look at all of the violence going on in the world today, they are all centered around something, trying to grab. And so Srila Prabhupada explained that the earth was just one. In the beginning, it was not divided into so many. But now we have from 3 continents to 4 continents, 5 continents, 6 continents. And we're not yet satisfied. We want to divide more because more and more people want to. So Srila Prabhupada said, in the material world, there are only 2 types of persons in the material world: smaller thieves and bigger thieves. Everyone in the material world are thieves because everybody is doing the same thing at a larger scale or at a smaller scale. Prabhupada told a very interesting story of Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great was so powerful that at a point in time, he started grabbing so many expanse scope of the land, of the earth. Although he was doing this and taking over so many continents, so many countries, he was so stupid and foolish that he does not know that he has no right to punish anyone. So there was this small thief who was found in one of his camps stealing some of the things kept in the store for the soldiers. And the guards took him to Alexandria. And Alexander said, "Oh, you have the guts to steal under my watch. I'm going to be punishing you in such a way that no one will ever think of stealing again." And the thief said, oh great Alexander, your intention to punish me is not right. And the people of those kind of a big ego, powerful, even when they are so fierce, when somebody speaks at them, first they listen, they want to see what is making this person have this kind of confidence. So Alexander the Great was looking at this thief and then said, "What the hell? What kind of courage you have to challenge me for wanting to punish you? You stole and you have been caught." Say, "Yes, sir. But if you permit me, both you and me are the same thing. The difference is that you are a big thief, I'm a small thief. So you have the power, big strength. You can conquer and take over countries. But I'm such a small thief. I also have my power. But my power can only steal small things, so I'm stealing. So we are both the same thing. The only difference is that you are a big thief, I'm a small thief. So you don't need to punish me." And according to the story, Papa said, Alexander the Great, when he heard that, he was so amused. And he said, "This person is so intelligent." And he left him. So in the material world, the Yakshas are many. Even in our day-to-day lives, in the families, in the temples, in the synagogue, in the ashrams. All these small and big thieves are all there. Small Yakshas. And everybody is trying to grab in one way or the other way. So what we see going on in the material world is this manifestation of these small and big thieves. And it's not new, because Elisha was doing it. He was so demoniac that, and because of his strength of power, he wanted to absorb the whole of the earth, and he pushed it under the ocean. And the Lord had to come. So there are so many small Yakshas. Even in devotional environment, in the churches, in the temples, in the mosque, they are grabbing. We can see it. All of us can see it. Unless we want to deny. This grabbing mentality is everywhere. And the lesson in this text that we're reading is simply telling us that as we all consider ourselves to be leaders in different capacity, we should check, what am I grabbing? We may not be as powerful as in Yaksha to push the whole earth under the ocean for Lord Nishima, from Lord Boa to come. But what part of the earth are we pushing under the ocean in our small ways? And that is the mentality we should be thinking. Because at the end of the day, the only thing keeping us here is because of this mentality for grabbing. And as a devotee, we should understand that true ownership belongs to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The earth is one, but we're dividing due to our ego, our illusory strength and power. Somebody becomes a temple president. Someone becomes a regional secretary. Somebody becomes a sannyasi. Somebody becomes a GBC. Somebody becomes an imam or whatever name. And they start grabbing like anything. Some years back, one of our God brothers, in the name of trying to collect donation, he said, go and tell SALIKA, let us determine who is the ogre or in this yatra, who has the right to collect this or that. Very senior devotee. So this grabbing mentality is there. So we should not think that this is just a story. In the past, the Lord has played this Leela just to show us what is happening. Lord Vara appeared in several millennia back. But Lord Vara, Dave, is still here and is ready to protect those who are righteous and pious. And those who are demoniac, the small Hiranyakshas, in our temples, in our mosques, in our churches, are also going to be defeated by Lord Varadi. Although they may become so very fierce, like Hiranyaksha is very fierce here. They may even be so powerful that they will wound us in our devotional service. Just like Varadi is wounded on his body by Hiranyaksha. Hiranyaksha was able to create wounds on the body of the Lord. So the Lord is showing us, is making us understand that even in our devotional service, we can be wounded like this. Because the demons can be so powerful. But victory is certain. And that's why Krishna told Arjuna, declare it boldly. My devotee will never vanquish. So this signifies that although we may have challenges in our devotional life, devotional service may post so many challenges and temptations in our family life, in our friendship life, in different cycles. But if we become like Mother Bhumi, the Lord in his form as Varadi will come to our rescue. But if we become timid and glorify the Hiranyakshas of our era, then we'll fall victim of defeat, just like Hiranyaksha is defeated in these circumstances. Devotional service requires a lot of strength. It requires a lot of forces. But those forces are strictly based on dharma, on righteousness. Just like the various examples we've given in the life of great devotees. So in summary, let us apply the 3 E's in our existence, in our day-to-day lives, before we engage in any activities which are basically experimental, because we cannot control the outcome. We should understand that we need the experience. And if our experience informs our experiment, our expectations will become a celebration. That is a guarantee by the Lord. So as devotees, practicing, as we listen to Srimad Bhagavatam, daily basis, we should understand that all these experiences that is being shared in the form of Guru, Sadhu, and Sastra are meant to guide us to be able to engage, experiment. And what do we have to experiment? Of all experimental endeavor in this life, the most assured experiment is the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. When you take this experiment, the expectation is guaranteed. It is the only experiment that gives a guaranteed expectations. Any other experiment will give something unexpected, undesired. Because this experiment is based on the strong experiential evidences. And that is the lesson in this lila of Lord Varade fighting with the demon in Rayaksha. And when we take this lesson very attentively, consciously in our hearts, in navigating our day-to-day activities in devotion and service, our going back to Godhead is guaranteed. Hare Krishna. So I'll stop here, and if there are questions or comments, contributions, or corrections, that will be welcome. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much, SALIKA Prabhu. Of course, as always. Dear devotees, if anyone may have questions, comments, reflections, realizations, you may want to ask or share, please indicate by using the hand emoji on your physical hand, and if you ask to unmute to ask your question or share your reflections. Prabhuji, thank you, of course. You said something in your discourse when you were saying that if someone has become a devotee for many years and still does not know where he or she is going to after death, then probably such a person has not joined Krishna consciousness yet.
Absolutely.
And I find that to be a very fascinating statement in the sense that I would want you to try to throw more light to what you meant by that, because just yesterday I was listening to one short conversation Srila Prabhupada was having with some group of devotees and a guest. So Srila Prabhupada was saying, which is very applicable because we're talking about Bharat Bharsh. I have a question on that also. But Srila Prabhupada was making the statement that everyone should be very careful that the future is unknown. We do not know what sort of body we're going to get in our next life. Srila Prabhupada was talking about procrastination, how sometimes some of us, I'm number one. I'll say, oh, I'll do this tomorrow. I'll do this when this is in place. So Srila Prabhupada says we should not take such chances because we never know what body we're going to be receiving in our next life. And he made mention of Bharat. That Bharat was a very great devotee. But in his next life, he became a deer. It's also on this platform where we heard that one president of, I'm not sure whether it's India or America, had been reborn, and he's been born in Sweden as a dog. So we never know. But you said that if one does not know where his next destination is going to be like, then that person might not have started devotional service yet. So if you may shed some light in this regard, please.
Thank you very much, Sade Prabhu. Krishna consciousness is not a mental speculation. It's a scientific process based on strong sadhu, sastra, and guru. And when Krishna speaks, Krishna doesn't speak based on, I'm trying to find the word, speculative assertions. Whatever Krishna says is fact. So therefore, in the sastras, in the scriptures, it has been given that one who engages in this way, this is the destination. Now, when we talk about knowing our destination, a devotee may not be able to ascertain exactly his location within a particular geographical place, but his destination is known. Let us take the example of the Bharat story that you highlighted in the course of your question. Bharat got the body of a deer, but his destination never changes. So when Prabhupada is speaking, he's speaking so that we can become attentive. And that is why we're talking about our experiments should be based on experience. Because from experience, both from Guru, Sadhu, Sastra, and life experience, one who has done good, Krishna told Arjuna, can never be befallen by evil. So one who engages in Krishna consciousness without fail, Krishna says, he will attain me without fail. So when we practicing Krishna consciousness, and we don't have that level of faith to know that our destination is Krishna, then it means we have not joined Krishna consciousness because we don't have faith, because the beginning of devotional service is Shraddha, faith. It is only one who established himself on the platform of Suddha Shraddha, on the platform of faith, and the mode of goodness. Only then is devotional service began. One cannot chant the holy name of the Lord without having faith. It will become what Srila Rupa Goswami said, counting vowels. Because the name of the Lord is Chintamani, one may get some pious credit, but he will never be able to go back home, back to God, because that destination is set aside for those who are engaged in bhakti. So if one is consciously, devotionally engaging in devotional service, there are tendencies that one may make a mistake like Bharat, but his destination is as sure as the lines on the palms of our hands. And that is why you see that devotees of the Lord are called abaya. They are fearless because they know that their destination is certain. Although they may go through challenges, just like we mentioned in the course of the discussion, there may be several challenges on the part of a devotee due to his previous karma. He may get some occasional fall down, or he may make mistake like Bharat made, but his destination is certain. So if someone tells me, Salika Das, what is your destination? Because I know inside of my heart, my level of engagement in Krishna consciousness, I can tell that this is my destination. When and how I will get there, I mean, may not be under my control, but I'm sure I'm getting there. So if a devotee does not have that level of strong faith that this is my destination, he has never started chanting, because the beginning, the very foundation of devotional service means Shraddha, faith. And Prabhupada emphasizes that when he's in France, when he went to France for the first time, and a young boy came in, and he saw Srila Prabhupada being sat on a very high level chair. And he said, this man is preaching so much of humility, a saintly person is very humble. And he's sitting on a very high chair, everybody's sitting on the floor. And he challenged Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada asked him, say, who is Krishna? And he said, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And they said, Prabhupada said, you're a devotee. And in that day, this is recorded, Srila Prabhupada gave him initiation. He said, he is a devotee. So when we're talking about destination of a devotee, there is no doubt Hiranyaksha is a pure devotee of the Lord, playing the lila of the Lord. So we know his destination. But for the demons, for the demoniac, their destination is certain. And that is what the Lord is coming to play the pastime, to exhibit for us to understand. So if a devotee says, I don't know my destination, then he has not started. I'm in devotional service for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, because I know it may take 100 lifetimes, but I'm going back to Krishna. Because my destination, my going back to Krishna started that day. I met my spiritual master. And by his costless mercy, he said, I accept you as my disciple. It may take me 10 lifetimes. It may take me 100 lifetimes. But I am very confident and sure that that abode of the Lord is my destination. This is bhakti. This is devotional service. When we look at our scriptures, there are various scriptural references. The part of devotion, assuredly all our scriptures is destination is assured for liberation, who is engaged in devotional service. When you check the scriptural references, those who are demigod worshippers, Lord Krishna says, they are certain to go to the abode of the demigods. But my devotees, they will come to my abode. And now what determines when and how is dependent on our level of devotional activities, practices in Krishna consciousness. So Bharat, yes, he became a deer, but he never loses his consciousness, because that is what Krishna told Arjuna. That even when there is a fall down, be rest assured, there is no loss or diminution on this part. The destination is ascertained, because it is the promise of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that's what I meant when I was saying that if someone joins devotional service and he starts practicing devotional service after 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, and he cannot confidently say, my destination is the abode of the Lord, it means he actually is deceiving himself, not any other person. I don't know whether this addresses your question in some ways. Hare Krishna.
Well, Hare Krishna. Thank you, of course. I am trying to understand your response to my question. So the way I'm understanding it, I need your clarification.
Okay.
Is that yes, I agree, because I've read and also I'm hearing from you, a devotee, that a service once done to Krishna never, ever gets depleted. It may be suppressed, but it never gets washed away completely. So that is there. But if someone is truly a devotee of the Lord, I believe he is just going to depend on what the Supreme Lord wants him to do for him. And so, if in the case of this topic, talking about destination, I am thinking it is never within the dictates of any particular devotee that I'm going back to Goloka Vrindavan, and then he goes. It is just out of the Lord's mercy, especially if the devotee is not a Nitya Siddha who just came to preach. But if it is a matter of never forgetting Krishna, always remembering Krishna, then that makes it easier for me to understand that, yes, the bodies may change, but the remembrance of Krishna and the service to Krishna will always be there. Just like, I think it's Bhaktivinoda who said that if even he should be born as a worm in a stool, he should be born as a worm in the stool of a Vaishnava. So the body has changed, but he's still in touch with devotees, servants of the Lord. So in that sense, it's easier for me to accept that, yes, that blessings of the Lord will always keep the individual soul, even like Bharat, as I used as an example, even while he was in the body of the deer, he still was remembering Krishna. So even though, like you said, the body has changed, but his destination was still there. The destination was that he was always in a remembrance of the Lord. But if it's like a geographical location, then that is a bit of difficulty for me to understand. I don't know if my understanding around the answer you gave.
I think I understand what you said.
Yeah,
let me clarify in this way.
Okay.
A devotee of the Lord has no desire. That is what makes him a devotee of the Lord. Whether it is in this universe or that universe or in other universes, wherever the devotee is, because it's always with the Lord, that place is abode of the Lord. So geographical location does not limit the experience of a devotee in relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But when we're talking about destination of a devotee who has become a pure devotee of the Lord may be sent to Vaikuntha planet based on the inclination in Swayam Rupa, Swarupa, is eternal form, or is Lila, or his relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, may take him to Goloka Vrindavan. It may take him to Vaikuntha. It may go to Bali Maharaj. It's a practical example. Bali Maharaj was pushed down to go to the lowest, earliest region. But right there, the Lord said, because you are my devotee, the Lord is directing you there. And that place, wherever the Lord is Goloka Vrindavan. So, and wherever the Lord is the abode of the Lord. So therefore, for a devotee, his destination is the abode of the Lord. That is the point. But then, the geographical location where the devotee finds him or herself may be determined by several factors based on the Lord's arrangement. But his destination is guaranteed that it will come to him. That is what Krishna says. Those who are my devotees definitely will come to me. And the one who is practicing devotional service, he may not, out of humility, expresses that I'm going back to Krishna. Out of humility, he may not express that in his day-to-day works, but he is convinced within himself, and that is the motivation for his continued devotional engagement. Why do you see that sometimes somebody joins devotional service, and after some time, they leave the process? Because their faith has not grown beyond the level of a canister. It is said that when one gets to Madhyama level of bhakta, his faith is so steady that nothing changes his faith on the Supreme Personality of God and his words. And because the Lord, his words, his pastime, his activities, his form are all the same. So devotee of the Lord is not confused about such conclusions. So your point is, okay, I can understand where you're coming from, that a devotee may not be able to say that I'm going to Goloka Vrindavan or I'm going to Vaikuntha planet. The Lord decides where he takes his devotee to, according to his Swarupa. But the destination of a devotee is what we're talking about. In general terms, the destination of devotee is the abode of the Lord. That abode of the Lord may be in any geographical location in the abode of the Supreme Personality of God, but his destination is guaranteed, the abode of the Lord, and there is no return. Madhavan Prabhu.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. All glory,
Yeah.
all glory to the all glory to the assembly of devotees. I'm so sorry I'm a bit late today, but I went for one installation or something like that.
Yeah, body and soul has to be kept together.
So I'm happy with this discussion that I met. So the question, I don't know, let's look at this chapter, I think 1426.
Okay, 14, Bhagavad Gita.
Bhagavad Gita, yes.
Okay. Mam Chayo Vyabichari na Bhakti Yogi na Sevati. Saguna Samati Atam Brahma. That's 1426, Abi?
Yes, it's correct. So the translation now, that one who engages in devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcend the modes of material nature, and thus come to the level of Brahman. So I think that level of Brahman is the most important. That's the destination, actually, because already one has reached spiritual. And the kingdom of God we are talking about, what happens there is you render service to the Supreme, and you've already transcended the influence of the 3 modes. So so wherever you are in the kingdom of God once you have reached that level. So just like Prabhu Sade was saying, it's left for Krishna to tell you wherever you are going to be, but you are already right there because you are with Krishna.
Yeah.
So,
we can look
at
it's
relevant. Yeah.
We can look at Srimad Bhagavatam 2:31 also. And in the purport there, Prabhupada says something beautiful. Bhagavatam 2:31. Those who meditate on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they attain his transcendental abode. Sadi Prabhu, you're bringing out that verse?
Did you say
31.
Okay. All right.
There are so many references actually. Yeah. Very beautiful verse. Only the purified soul can attain the perfection of association with the personality of God in complete bliss and satisfaction in his constitutional state. Whoever is able to renovate such devotional perfection is never again attracted by the material world, and he never returns. Prabhupada explained further in the purport. We should especially note in this verse the description of Gatim Bhagwatim, to become merged in the race of this Brahma, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as desired by the Brahmavadis personality, is not Bhagwatim perfection. The Bhagavatas never accept merging in the impersonal race of the Lord, but always aspire after personal association with the Supreme Lord in one of the Vaikuntha spiritual planets in the spiritual sky. The whole of the spiritual sky, of which the total number of material sky is only an insignificant part, is full of unlimited numbers of Vaikuntha planets. The destination of the devotees, this is where I wanted to read, the Bhagavata is to enter into one of the Vaikuntha planet, the destination of the devotee, who are described as the Bhagavata, is to enter into the one of the Vaikuntha planet, in which the personality of Godhead, in his unlimited personal expansion, enjoys himself in the association of a limited number of pure devotee associates. That is the point I wanted to actually raise. The destination of the devotee. That is the point I wanted to. Yeah. The destination of the devotee, the Bhagavata, they enter into the abode of the Lord. It is guaranteed. Wherever in the abode of the Lord may be different, but his attainment of that abode is guaranteed, no shortcut. And the devotee knows that this is my destination. It may not be how and when, may not be under his control, but it's very sure. And in that faith, he engages in devotional service without fail, as Madhavan Prabhu quotes. And because he's engaging in devotional service always without fail, he is assured that, oh, I may not be perfect there now, but definitely my destination is this.
Well, thank you so much for that further explanation. It helps a lot. Yeah, it helps a lot. Now, there is this question about, see, because we are devotees, we oftentimes take lots of things for granted. Because whatever we read from the scriptures, we just accept them because we are devotees.
Absolutely.
And some of the things we accept from the scriptures are very difficult to explain to those who are not devotees. And so when those who are not devotees find us accepting such statements, that is what makes them think that the Hare Krishna devotees are brainwashed. Well, I strongly believe, I don't know, but I strongly believe that Hare Krishna devotees are not brainwashed. And I'm trying to be Hare Krishna devotee, I'm not brainwashed. But please help me explain how those who are not devotees would accept that God himself came into this world in the form of a boar, and he was fighting with a creature. And this creature is able to hit the Supreme Lord, and the Supreme Lord is having bruises and is bleeding. How do you say that such a being is God, the Almighty? Please help explain this to the ordinary guy on the street, how this makes sense that God, the Almighty, the most powerful, once came into this world as a boar and was fighting his own creature, and his own creature actually hit him with a mace, and the Lord, excuse me to say, that so-called Lord, Supreme Lord, is now bleeding. Please help.
Let us start from where it begins. There are two key verses in the chapter 18 of Bhagavad Gita. They follow each other, those two verses. And it explains in a simpler manner why and how it is. In the beginning, in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna told Arjuna, Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma Naso Shati Nakankshati Samasaveshu Bhukteshu Bhakti. Samasaveshu Bhukteshu Ma Bhaktim Labate Param. Ma Bhaktim Labate Param. That's 1854. Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma Naso Shati Nakankshati Samasavesh Bukteshu, man Bhaktim, Babate Param. And in the next verse, Krishna followed with the second verse. Bhaktyamam Abhijananti Yavan Yashasmita Tuta Tatutatuatu Gyatwam Vishati Tad Anantara. If you look at this verse, before you go to the next verse, let's look at the purport. There is something there. Yeah, just wait. This is the place. Otherwise, the truth of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I start from the up. Otherwise, the truth of the Supreme Personality of Godhead will always be hidden. As already stated in Bhagavad Gita 7:25, Naam Prakasha Sarvasya is not revealed to everyone. No one can understand God simply by erudite scholarship or mental speculation. Only one who is actually engaged in Krishna consciousness and devotional service can understand what Krishna is. University degrees are not helpful. I went back to school because I was getting continuously challenged. So this gave me an impetus. I'm doing my master's in religious studies in one of the universities. And this very purport, I quoted to one professor when we were discussing. Because when we talk about religion, the academias have a perception of what religion is. But when we come to the subject matter about God, it is not an everybody, just like everybody cannot be a doctor. To understand the Lord and his activities only is the prerogative of those who are devotees. For those who are not devoted, the Lord is hidden. You cannot give it to them. They cannot comprehend it. The child is asking the father, how did you and my mother give birth to me? You said you are my father. But then how is it that my mother is my mother? It's my mother that gave birth to me. How did I become your son first before I become the son of my mother? He cannot comprehend. It's beyond his understanding. So therefore, the Lord went further, and then after saying this, he took us to the next verse. Bhaktyamam Abhijananti Yavan Yashasmita Tuta Tatutatuatu Gyatam Vishate Tad Anantaram. This Krishna activities, lila, pastimes, is not for everybody. That is why it is called Bhagavat Katha. It is meant for those who are transcendentally. So Sukadev Goswami, in the beginning, he said, what is that verse? 1:1:2. Was it not 1:2? He said, this scripture, it is completely taken away in the first verse, first chapter, first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. It is completely free from those who are under the influence of conditional life. This is Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the activities of the Lord. It is like telling someone who does not know what is gold and tell him to describe gold. He cannot comprehend it. Bhagavatam first canto, chapter 1, verse 1. This scriptures is completely free from all level of mundane speculation. It is beyond. So when we come to materialists, we should make them understand. In 3 years ago, I think that was 3 years ago or so, yes, I was in Portugal, and we have a gathering of religious leaders from different traditions. And I think maybe I've narrated this story on this platform before. And then we went to a Hindu temple, and there was the priest there also, because he's a demigod worshiper. He doesn't have the conclusion about Krishna consciousness or Bhagavad Dharma or Sanatana Dharma, which is the essence of Vedic scriptures. So he was explaining to these people, he was trying to make them understand. And there was this intelligent lady there among all of these categories. And he was asking, which is this one? He said, this is God. He said, what is his name? He said, Kartikeya. Who is this? He said he's God. What is his name? He says it's Ganesh. What is this? He said it's Lord Shiva. Who is he? He said he's God. And he still mentioning so many gods. And the woman, at the time when we finished all of the showing of so many gods, he came. He said, these are one of the things that bewilder someone who is not from your tradition. You have shown me so many gods. That you mean to say there is so many God? Or is there, and we say we are all worshiping one same God. How can they comprehend this? And the Hindu priest could not explain. So I stood up. In fact, the coordinator of that program called me. He said, Salika Das, please, you can be the one to help in this matter. So I stood up and I asked the woman, I said, your question is that you want to understand which among all of this is actually the God? Because if you say God is one, and you are telling me this is God, and all of them are different, their features is explicitly different from each other. He said, so how do I understand which is God? And I said, madam, with all humility, do you have the qualification if I show you which of them is God to see that he is God? He said, well, I can reason. I have a reasoning power. I said, your reasoning power ends in your mouth. It doesn't go beyond there. Because you cannot even see what is behind you right now. Do you know what is happening in your back? You cannot see. So to get to see, to become a doctor, you have a qualification. To become a lawyer, you have a qualification. And to see God, to understand God, you don't have a qualification. You don't want to exhibit any qualification. You just think you can come. So you want to know God. So for those who are coming, so those who are non-devotees, they say, oh, we cannot understand this. You tell them, do you have the qualification to understand? That is the beginning point. If you don't have the qualification, how do you demand to know something that you don't have the qualification for? To enter into primary school, secondary school, the school will ask you, give us this prerequisite qualification. So when we talk about God, God has become so cheap that everybody wants to talk about God without qualification. And the qualification is different, it's simple. Back to your mom, you have to become a devotee. How to become a devotee? Mam mana baba ma bakto, mam yaji, mam namaskuru, mam evaisi satyante, pratijano, piyosime. That is Krishna speaking. Become my devotee. Offer obeisances to me. Render service unto me. Worship me in this way. So when non-devotees come forward and ask questions like, oh, I want to, how can I understand that this is actually God? I said, well, do you have what it takes? Let's become a devotee first. Then we can talk whether it is true or not. Because even if I tell you, what can you understand? You can't understand anything because you don't have the qualification. Why do you go and employ a lawyer if you have a case in the court? Because you cannot express yourself at that level. You go to a medical doctor. The medical doctor doesn't have a 10 head. He has only one head like you have. But he has something more than what you have. And it's not physical. And the subject matter about God is not physical thing. It is hidden. Only those who have the third eye, who have the spiritual eye, only them can assess. Only them can see God. They can understand how God can come down and take the form of a boa and be fighting with his devotee and exhibiting those qualities like that of an ordinary lower animal. It is incomprehensible. It is meant for those who are bhagavatas. Unless one is a bhagavata, he cannot understand Bhagavan. The understanding of Bhagavan is reserved only for those who are bhagavatas. So, question is, how do we explain it? If you want to explain it, become a devotee. Then you will understand. If you don't want to become a devotee, then it is not your cup of tea. Be satisfied with what you have. And that is the answer.
Yeah. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for this response. So Govinda Prabhu has something to ask, but the response you just gave is making a lot of sense to me because the only way for me to know medicine is to go to school of medicine. So if I want to know God, then I have to become his devotee. So thank you so much. Governor Prabhu, you may unmute.
Krishna,
Hare Krishna.
answers to you, like devotees. Yeah, Prabhu, this question is like an extension to Sadhu Prabhu's question,
Okay.
which you just answered beautifully. But my question is that it is true that one cannot understand Krishna with his blunt senses. One has to be a devotee. One has to be purified before one can actually understand Krishna. And even Krishna says that even among the purified beings, only few can actually understand him.
Yeah.
So within the understanding of Krishna, there is understanding within understand of Krishna. So that means that Krishna is not easily to be understood.
Absolutely.
Now, Krishna consciousness, by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy, is here to elevate everybody, all the conditioned souls, not to degrade anyone, but rather to elevate. Now, from your explanation, like Sadhu Prabhu asked, it's difficult to explain to a non-devotee to understand that Varaha incarnation is God. Very, very difficult. If you're among with the devotees, it's difficult for us to understand. And that's why when we are trying to speak about this subject matter, we have to do everything possible, quoting here and there, to convince the devotees to understand that this is Krishna, the Supreme Personality of God, who has come to perform this feat. Now, we also said this knowledge given according to time, place, and different circumstances. When you are disputing books, you don't now, how do you expect someone to read these books and then go and meet Varaha incarnation? And the books explain that this is God. So instead of liberating this person is going to blaspheme. How do you explain this? If someone take a book and read about the Lord in his form as Varaha and blaspheme and condemn, do we call that person as an offender? Is there any reaction for this person? Because there's no way he can understand. But nevertheless, we are giving these books out to each and everyone without exception. So how do you explain this?
Hare Krishna. Beautiful question. Thank you very much for this beautiful question. I have a practical experience on what you are saying. In the early 90s, I was preaching at Tinkan Island in Lagos. And there is this Igbo chap. I sold Bhagavad Gita to him. And he was actually endeavoring to read. So he got to chapter 4. One of the very beautiful verses in chapter 4, Krishna says, Ajopisam avyayatma bhutaro ishwaropisan prakritim swam adhisthaya sambhavami atmayaya. In that verse, Lord Krishna says, although I'm unborn and my transcendental body never deteriorates, and although I'm the Lord of all living entities, by my internal energy, I still appear in every millennium in my original transcendental form. When you read the purport of this verse, somewhere there, Srila Prabhupada explained I'm trying to, okay, thank you very much, Sadiq. That Prabhupada said the same thing here, that only a devotee can understand. There is a place there, Prabhupada gave a very long purport. There is a place there. So in order to save time, I don't want to read all of the purport, but there's some sentence there Prabhupada used. So I was reading to the devotee. His body is the same unborn, but blah, 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 blah. There's a plus there. So anyway, so I was explaining to this devotee, to this, yes, a devotee in making, that I can't remember the exact point where that Prabhupada's word was. But Srila Prabhupada gave a very elaborate explanation. So he was asking me this same question. And like you said, maybe this person may be making a mistake, or maybe make offense, commit apparat in any case. But why do we give? When we look at the 10 offenses against the holy name, offense number 9, to instruct the faithless person about the glories of the holy name of the Lord. So it is an offense to preach the glories of the Supreme Personality of God to a non-devotee. But why do we give it? In the Bhagavad Gita chapter 7, text number 28, Lord Krishna told Arjuna, Yesham tu antagata papam jnana mampunya karmana te dvandavini imukta bhajanti mam didavrata. That when one engages in pious activities in this life and in his next life, when one becomes purified by those pious activities, he can begin devotion and service. And Prabhupada gave elaborate explanation on this purport of this text. In the beginning of devotional life, a devotee knows that it is an offense to preach to a non-devotee. But by coming in contact with the books, by coming in contact with the paraphernalia of Krishna, one gets a punya karma. By coming in contact with the devotee of the Lord, by seeing the tilak of the devotee, by seeing a devotee wear in dhoti, just like one become conscious when you see a policeman in his uniform, one become aware of the law. In the same way, when the devotee, when the books, Srila Prabhupada even went ahead and said that this Bhagavata, when you place it in the house, it is the form of the Lord, because any contact with the Supreme Personality of God that purifies the soul. So we give them these books. Whether they blaspheme, whether they make offenses, whatever offenses they could make cannot counteract the potency of the Lord's mercy upon them. Where it becomes wrong is when we try to explain to them. And that is the foundation of where my answer is coming to Sahadev Prabhu's question. You don't try to explain to a non-devotee about the glories of the Krishna's or the Supreme Personality of God's activities. Because the fools and demons cannot understand the Lord. You know this. So you don't explain the Leela of the Lord. So when someone becomes inquisitive, maybe by having to the punya to read the book of Krishna, then that person becomes a recipient of your preaching. And the first level of preaching to a non-devotee is to encourage the person to chant to the name of the Lord. That is the tradition Prabhupada gave to us. Most of our neophyte preachers want to teach the Bhagavad philosophy to a neophyte, But that is a wrong approach to preaching. In Sankirtan, you don't preach. Encourage everyone to chant the holy name. Prabhupada started this movement like that. If Prabhupada had gone to Thompson Square and is trying to preach Bhagavad Dharma, he will not get the followers. Srila Prabhupada simply went there and chanted the holy name. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And by that purification effect of the holy name, their consciousness could comprehend what Srila Prabhupada was speaking, because the Lord is seated in the region of the earth. That is what Krishna said, I'm seated in the region of the earth as the super soul. So Krishna will connect with that soul that is ready for his lila, for his knowledge, when he chants the holy name. So the first level of preaching to a non-devotee is to encourage them to chant the holy name. And if they become submissive and humble enough to chant the holy name, Hare Krishna, then they become a recipient of our time to preach. But trying to preach to someone who is a non-devotee, who is not favorably disposed to chanting the holy name or hearing the holy name, is a mere waste of time. And if that's such a person commit aparad, will become a recipient and a accomplice in the karma or the reactions of that offenses the person commits. So the tradition is that, yes, we give out books, because by taking these books, these persons who are non-devotees, by contact with the books, because Krishna and his books are not different, they become purified. And if they have become inquisitive enough to want to ask questions about what are you talking about this, then the answer to them is, do you really want to hear? Do you want to hear? Do you have the price to pay? Some two gentlemen came to the temple on Sunday. He had been calling me over the phone several weeks. He kept on calling. I've read about, I've seen on your website about Krishna conscious movement. Hare Krishna, I want to come. And because of the security situation, unfortunately, when people call to come to the temple, you should be eager and happy. But here, we became agitated because we don't know whether it is Boko Haram that is calling. They want to come and bomb. So the first thing that comes to your mind is fear. Is this person actually seeking Krishna, or he wants to come and bomb the temple? So I was dodging him for several days. So eventually, when he consistently called, I said, okay, come to the temple. So he said, where is the temple? I said, but you saw the temple address on the website you saw. He said, but describe it for me. So with faith in Krishna, I asked them to come. I even thought it's one person that was coming. But eventually, two of them came. And when they came, immediately I looked at them, I knew they were looking for mystical money. So the two of them sat before me and I said, well, welcome to the Krishna temple. I did not waste my time preaching because I knew this person were not ready for preaching. There are some people that will come like that based on their appearance, based on what they uttered in their mouth. I know that this person, I can preach to them, Krishna consciousness. So this person, two young men, I didn't preach anything. I just told them, I said, so what do you want? And they said, the same usual language. Oh, I've been doing everything, nothing is working out. And somebody told me if I come here, I can become successful. And I said, well, fantastic. Whoever has guided you right. But do you have what it takes? He said, I'm ready to give anything. I said, are you sure? He said, yes. You are sure you can give everything to get what you want? He said, yes. I said, yes, you have been sent to the right place. You can be wealthy, you can be rich. But bear in mind, wealth in Krishna consciousness doesn't come in automatically. It has a condition. He said, what is the condition? I'm ready to give it. I said, the first condition is that you have to chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra without the bead or rosary for 1 month. And if you're consistent, then I'll give you bead. Then you start chanting. After chanting, we'll assess your level of chanting. Because what presently now, your situation is that there are so many unwanted elements, spirit that are already blocking your wealth. So for you to uncover that wealth, you need to chant this holy name for this period of time. If you consistently chant it and dedicatedly, then I will know that you are ready. Then I'll tell you the next step. They look at their face, each of them. They said, what is their mantra? So I bring chanting on chanting for them. I said, these are the book. Go and read it. In 4 days' time, call me to let me know that you are chanting. Then we'll take it further from there. So the answer to the question is that when people, we give books outside, we give them books just to encourage them to increase their punya karma, to engage them in increasing their pious credit, to engage them in purifying their senses and mind. And in such a way, they become ready to be able to hear Krishna Katha. So preaching Krishna consciousness to somebody on the street is a mere waste of time, unless the person exhibit the qualification or quality of one who is ready to receive higher knowledge. We don't preach Krishna consciousness like that. And if the person who are really, really demoniac, they will not even take the book. But someone who is pious enough to take the book, he gets opportunity of punya karma by pious credit. And that is what Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Brahmananda Brahmi Te Konya Bhagyavan Diva Guru Krishna Prashade Pai Bhakti Latabija. When one becomes fortunate after many, many births, many, many lifetimes, when he becomes fortunate, he comes in contact with the pure devotee of the Lord. And when we see how it happens, Narada Muni, all the stories of Narada Muni, he never tells them Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He tells them, he gives them the holy name to chant. When you look at our acharyas, this is what they do. But we are so, sometimes, sorry to say, it is actually out of ego. When I see devotees trying to do that, I just laughed. But most of us make this mistake in the beginning of our spiritual life. Actually, trying to preach to someone who is a neophyte is the exhibition of false ego. Unless somebody develops the quality to hear, we should not preach Krishna consciousness, because Narada Muni did not do that. Srila Prabhupada did not do that. Prabhupada gave the holy name. And when they become attracted to the holy name, they come to the temple, then he gave them Krishna. So we should give Krishna to those who have qualified themselves by hearing the holy name of the Lord. I don't know if this addresses the question, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Salika Prabhu. Thank you very much for your patience and your elaborate explanation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, devotees. We've been here for close to 2 hours. I didn't realize we've gone that far. But it's always beautiful hearing Krishna Katha. So time was kind of fast spent without actually knowing. I think we're going to bring this to a final close. And we're going to humbly request the devotees to kindly unmute themselves. And we all chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra to express our deepest appreciation to our revered speaker, His Grace Salika Prabhu, for sharing his love and wisdom and patience with us all. Jai. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare
Mancha kalpa Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki
Jai. Iskon Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Tantra
Salika Prabhu ki Jai.
Jai. All glory to Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. All glory to Assembly.